So just give me kind of an overview of what you look at when you're working with a teen in the sport of fitness.
Yeah, interesting enough, we actually spoke about this morning with all of us coaches in a meeting, and just talking about development of a rookie. And of course, the youth athlete came up in that. And the one thing that CrossFit's missing right now on its platform is the fact there isn't a platform for youth to build some resiliency on. So we look at hockey, we can look at basketball, we can look at even golf. And there's smaller platforms below that brings the child up from its youth into its teens, where they're prepared to compete and prepared, emotionally to take on more skill and more competition, so to speak. And right now what we're seeing in CrossFit is a 2-year fast track plan for a lot of these youth that are talented, that are high resiliency, and that have the skill development already, but maybe not the depth into long-term development, which is kind of...
So when you say platform, you're talking almost like a minor league. What do you mean by platform for them to progress?
Yeah, I'm looking at like a developmental stage for them. So the critical learning and the development, the cognitive, like all the pieces and phases of athletic development that youth goes through in most sport programs. And right now we're not seeing that in CrossFit. We're getting kids who are talented that maybe have been brought up in the garage gym and are now thrown into high intensity and high volume pieces because they want to go to the games, and that's what they think it looks like.
So I'm not sure that everybody would even understand. What is resiliency to you? What does that mean?
Resiliency to me, as a coach looking at an athlete, is somebody who has balance in their life to allow them to take on training and take on stress and be able to maintain a balance within that. And I speak of balance in various forms, but number one, being able to show up day in, day out, and without injury, without emotion, but just knowing the plan and being consistent. And a resilient athlete, and some of the kids that I work with show that aptitude in terms of they understand what they're getting into, they understand the expectation, and there's a clear focus within that, so it creates a resiliency and an aptitude to do the training as required.
So basically going over and over and over and over again is ultimately what the goal is, being able to come in, day out, train hard, get better, recover, get better again. So within a teen, and let's start male, okay? Within a male teen, what would cause a lack of resiliency?
Yeah, well, number one, we got to look at puberty, right? Some of these kids that are already in the field of competition, some of them are shaving and I was going to say some rude stuff that James said this morning. I'll probably cut that out. But
we can leave that for the imagination.
Okay, so, but shaving and already a man pretty much at 15, 16-year-old. And then you have somebody who's still looking for their mom to make them Cheerios in the morning. So looking at just, puberty itself and where they sit in that continuum of, 12 to 17 years old, where they sit within that for themselves, will also determine what their training looks like and what their long-term plan looks like. Obviously, these kids who are already having big muscles, lots of testosterone, high on their puberty, they're going to be able to handle more volume and more intensity, and therefore be ahead of the pack. So with males, you can see already that the displacement is going to be with where they sit right now in their growth spurts.
So if a male hasn't hit puberty, are you recommending that they don't do the same things?
Well, I mean, they don't have the ammunition to do so, right? I mean, you're putting a kid who's hormonally not prepared to take on that type of intensity or volume. So I think that's kind of where the fine line is like, what does that development look like for them? Well, there isn't anything out there besides what we try to do as coaches here at OPEX in terms of trying to educate and let people know, like, this is the steps to take if you're still growing in these phases of life.
What does it mean to have no ammunition?
Hormonally. So I'm just looking at their hormone profiles. There's hormones that are required to do high intensity, big volume pieces of work, and if you're not in that melting pot of hormones, then it's going to be a real struggle to develop an athlete quickly in that short time frame they have at that age.
If they don't have those hormones, what's some of the downside if you try to push them too aggressively?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, going down the rabbit hole in this one. I don't have all the answers to that, but just from looking at other sports and looking at sports that require high volume and the kids that don't have it, first of all, they're not in the top of the heats and doing that. They're not in their top of their sport. But the damage that can be done, obviously, is just in terms of overtraining, overreaching, burnout, and even obviously injury within that age. They're pretty, pliable at that age, but at the same time, just the overall development hormonally for that kid long term could potentially be at risk.